All right. So, our listeners have sent us a ton of info on this
Yeah.
quick commerce thing or Q-commerce,
Hmm.
like all the cool kids are calling it these days. And
Right.
we're talking about, getting your groceries or
Yeah.
even like phone chargers delivered to your door in
Mm.
under an hour. And it's like
I know.
all those promises of 2-day shipping are like ancient history, it
Nice.
feels
Yeah.
like.
Absolutely.
So let's like dive in and really unpack this whole Q-commerce
Yeah.
revolution.
It's so interesting how fast our expectations have like completely shifted.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We went from like waiting days for a package
Right.
to expecting it the next day.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about minutes with this Q-commerce.
Yeah.
It's a whole new era of like instant gratification.
Totally. And I remember when I first tried one of these apps,
Yeah.
groceries, like I just needed a couple things for dinner.
Hmm.
And I have to admit, I was so skeptical.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way they can get this to me in like 30 minutes.
Right.
But they did.
It is pretty magical.
It was like magic.
Yeah, that magic is a potent combination of tech and logistics.
Yeah, huh?
I mean, they use AI to predict demand and manage their inventory.
Oh, wow.
They've got these real-time tracking systems, so they can
Yeah.
optimize all those delivery routes to make sure your order gets to you as fast as possible.
Wow.
And then, of course, the apps just make ordering so incredibly easy.
Right.
It's like they've thought of everything to just remove all that friction from like the whole shopping experience.
Oh, yeah, it's so smooth.
Yeah,
You mentioned real-time tracking. So is that like when you're watching your Uber driver on the map?
exactly like that.
Oh, okay.
You can see your order being picked and packed.
Wow.
And then you just follow the courier's progress like right to your doorstep.
That's so cool.
It's all about that transparency and control, giving you that sense of like, I need it now and it's coming.
So there's a lot of tech behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But like, what about the physical infrastructure? I've heard about these dark stores.
Yeah.
Are those like a big part of making this all work?
Absolutely. They're key.
Okay.
Dark stores are like these mini warehouses, or sometimes they're called like micro fulfillment centers.
Okay.
They're strategically located in cities.
Hmm.
And, unlike those massive e-commerce warehouses that you see out in like the suburbs,
Right.
these dark stores are designed just for Q-commerce.
Oh, okay.
They're stocked up with the items that people want the most.
Got it.
And because they're closer to the customers, it means much faster delivery times.
So it's like having a little mini supermarket hidden away just for online orders.
Yep.
And perfectly placed to get those deliveries out fast.
That's it.
Genius.
And this model is popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
We see companies like GoPuff, Instacart, DoorDash in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And then globally, you've got platforms like Zepto Blinkit and Swiggy Instamart in India,
Yeah.
all running on this principle of localized fulfillment.
It's amazing how global it's become.
Yeah.
Speaking of global events, it seems like the pandemic really like pushed Q-commerce forward.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think that was just like a temporary bump, or has it actually changed how we shop for good?
Well, the pandemic definitely like sped things up,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it also kind of exposed this deeper shift in how we're all behaving as consumers.
Yeah.
Like people just got used to the ease of shopping online.
Right.
And then once they'd experienced that Q-commerce speed and ease, it was hard to go back.
Yeah, I get that.
I think it's honestly raised the bar for like every retailer out there.
So you're saying that even businesses that aren't doing Q-commerce
Mm.
are feeling the pressure to deliver faster?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Customers now expect like same day or next day delivery is just the normal thing,
Mhm.
not like some premium extra service.
Wow.
And that's forcing companies to really rethink their whole supply chain
Okay.
and invest in new technologies like micro warehousing and real-time inventory management just to keep up.
So Q-commerce is setting a whole new standard for the entire retail industry.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is where things get really interesting because
Okay.
this shift towards like faster deliveries isn't just about logistics.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental change in how we think about shopping itself,
Hmm.
how we value our time, and what we expect from businesses.
Right.
It's almost like we're rewiring our brains as consumers.
It's like we're in this like new era of need it now shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole rapid delivery model
Yeah.
relies so heavily on gig workers.
Right.
So where does the rise of the gig economy fit into all of this?
I mean, the gig economy is absolutely essential to the whole Q-commerce model.
Okay.
Like these platforms, GoPuff, Instacart, DoorDash,
Right.
they all depend on this network of freelance couriers
Okay.
who are giving them the flexibility and that responsiveness that Q-commerce just demands.
Right.
These platforms wouldn't be able to scale up and down to meet demand without this super agile
Because
workforce.
it's not just about the tech. It's about having a workforce that can keep up with this need for speed.
Right.
But all this reliance on gig workers
Yeah.
brings up some important questions, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, what does it mean for workers' rights, job security, the future of employment?
You've hit on a super crucial point.
Yeah.
I mean, the gig economy has been a subject of intense debate,
Mm-hmm.
and for good reason, because while it offers some people flexibility and autonomy,
Yeah.
it also raises concerns about exploitation, lack of benefits, and, the erosion of those traditional labor protections.
It's like we're in this uncharted territory,
Yeah,
and we have to figure out how to navigate it in a way that's fair and sustainable for everyone involved.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is where the conversation gets even more complex,
That's
because
fine.
it's not only about the workers,
Right.
it's also about the environmental impact of all these deliveries.
That's right.
Like all those cars and scooters zipping around can't be good for the planet.
No, they can't.
Right.
So we have this amazing tech. We have this incredible speed and convenience.
Uh-huh.
But then we have these looming questions about the human and the environmental costs. So where do we even go from here?
Right.
Is there even a way to reconcile these competing forces?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And to answer it, we need to take an even deeper dive into the ethical considerations and the environmental challenges and the potential solutions that are emerging in this whole world of Q-commerce.
All right, so let's do it. Do it.
It really is kind of a fascinating paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have this incredible convenience, but then these really tough challenges.
It does feel like we're at a crossroads. Like
Yeah.
we have to decide what kind of future we're creating with this.
Right. Exactly. And I think one of the biggest challenges, like you said,
Yeah.
is that environmental impact of all of these deliveries.
Mm,
We can't ignore that Q-commerce, as it is right now,
yeah.
has a pretty big carbon footprint.
So are there ways to address that? Like I know some companies are trying out electric vehicles,
Yeah.
cargo bikes, things like that.
Mm.
Is that enough?
I mean, it's a start, but it's only one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
We also have to rethink the whole delivery ecosystem.
Okay.
Like, for example, what if we had these consolidated delivery hubs
Mm,
where packages from all different companies are sorted and delivered together?
okay.
That would mean fewer vehicles on the road.
So like a Q-commerce carpool.
Exactly.
I like that.
And we could also encourage cities to develop more pedestrian and bike-friendly infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, that would make deliveries more efficient.
Yeah.
But it would also make cities more livable for everyone.
It's like we're using Q-commerce as a way to rethink how we design our cities
Yeah.
to make them more sustainable and people-centered.
Exactly. And another big piece of this
Yeah.
is consumer education. We have to help people understand the environmental impact of their choices
mm-hmm.
and encourage them to think about sustainability.
So it's not just about companies changing.
Right.
It's about consumers changing too.
Absolutely. Like, we can all make a difference
Okay.
by bundling our orders, choosing eco-friendly delivery options, and really thinking twice before we order something we don't really need.
You mentioned supporting sustainable businesses.
Yeah.
How can we as consumers actually identify those companies?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I would say look for companies that are transparent about how they do things.
Okay.
Companies that are actively working to reduce their impact on the environment,
Okay.
and companies that are investing in those sustainable delivery methods.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Hmm.
The more we demand that transparency and accountability from businesses,
Yeah.
the more likely they are to actually step up and make the changes we need.
Right. So it's like we're holding their feet to the fire,
Yeah,
but in a nice, polite way.
exactly. It's about using our power as consumers
Right.
to drive positive change.
And speaking of collective power, we talked about those challenges facing gig workers
Yeah.
in this Q-commerce industry.
Right.
What are some ways that we can make sure those workers are treated fairly
Yeah.
and have access to the same protections as other employees?
That is such a crucial issue.
Yeah.
One of the most important things we can do is advocate for policies that protect gig workers.
Okay.
Things like a minimum wage, paid sick leave, access to health care.
So it's not just about ethical consumption.
Bruh.
It's about political action, too.
Absolutely. We need to make our voices heard
Okay.
and demand that our elected officials actually prioritize the rights of all workers, regardless of their employment status.
Okay.
And we can support organizations that are working to organize gig workers, and fight for their rights.
Now, you mentioned worker-owned cooperatives earlier. Can you talk a
Mhm.
bit more about that? Like, how would that work with Q-commerce?
So worker-owned cooperatives are businesses that are owned and controlled by the workers themselves. It's a much more democratic and equitable model of ownership,
Yeah,
where workers share in the profits and have a say in how things are run.
I like that.
So in the context of Q-commerce,
Yeah.
this could mean that the couriers themselves own and operate the whole delivery platform
Wow.
instead of working for a big corporation.
So they go from gig workers to worker owners.
Exactly.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is.
Do you think it could actually work?
I think it has huge potential.
Okay.
We're already seeing worker-owned co-ops popping up in the gig economy,
Hmm.
and I think Q-commerce is ripe for this kind of innovation.
Yeah.
It would require a shift in mindset,
Okay.
both from consumers and policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a model that could create a much more just and sustainable future for Q-commerce.
It's like reimagining the whole structure of the industry
Yeah.
from the ground up.
Exactly. And it's not just about changing who owns things.
Okay.
It's about rethinking that whole relationship between consumers and workers.
Mhm.
Like, what if we saw Q-commerce not as just a transaction,
Right.
but as a collaboration?
Yeah.
We're all working together to create a system that benefits everyone.
So moving from a me economy to a we economy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that shift in perspective is essential
Okay.
if we want to build a Q-commerce system that's truly ethical and sustainable.
So we've talked about the environment, the gig economy,
Yeah.
the need for policy changes, this
Mhm.
idea of worker-owned co-ops.
Right.
Are there any other challenges or opportunities you see for Q-commerce?
One area I think is going to be really important is data privacy.
Okay.
Like, these Q-commerce platforms are collecting tons of data about us,
Yeah.
our shopping habits, our locations, even our personal preferences.
That's a little scary.
We need to have strong regulations to protect that data from being misused.
It's like we're trading convenience for privacy.
Exactly. And it's a trade-off we need to be really careful about.
Yeah.
We need to demand transparency from those Q-commerce companies about what they're doing with our data.
Right.
And we need to fight for strong privacy protections.
So it's not just about getting our groceries fast.
Right.
It's about protecting our digital rights, too.
Absolutely. And making sure that Q-commerce respects our values and protects our freedoms.
Okay, so we've talked about the dark side of Q-commerce. What about the bright side?
Yeah.
Are there ways that Q-commerce could actually make our lives better
Yeah.
beyond just delivering things quickly?
That's a great question. And I think there's a lot of potential there.
Okay.
Like, imagine a world where Q-commerce is used to deliver essential medicines to people in remote areas,
Okay.
or to bring healthy food to places where it's hard to find.
So it's not just about convenience then.
What?
It's about access and equity.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
what if we used Q-commerce to support local businesses,
Hmm.
to build up those vibrant local economies? Instead of ordering everything from giant corporations, we could use Q-commerce to buy from our neighborhood bakery, our local bookstore.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, like using Q-commerce to strengthen our communities.
Instead of undermining them.
Exactly. And imagine if Q-commerce was used to connect people,
Okay.
to share resources,
Mm-hmm.
to build stronger social ties.
Yeah.
We could use it to share meals with our neighbors, to send gifts to loved ones,
Wow.
to create a sense of community in our increasingly digital world.
So Q-commerce is giving us new tools
Yeah.
to build those connections and foster a sense of belonging.
I love that it's about reimagining Q-commerce not as just a delivery service,
Yeah.
but as a platform for social good.
So it's not just about what we're ordering.
Right.
It's about how we're ordering and who we're ordering from.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices,
Okay.
supporting businesses that share our values, and using our power as consumers to make a difference.
It's like we're all becoming Q-commerce activists.
I love that. And I think that kind of activism is so important. If we want to make sure Q-commerce develops in a way that benefits everyone.
It's empowering to think that we have a role to play
We do.
in shaping the future of this whole industry.
Absolutely. Every purchase we make, every delivery we accept
Yeah.
is a vote for the kind of world we want to live in.
So we have the power to create a Q-commerce utopia,
We do.
but it's going to take some work.
It will.
We need to be mindful consumers,
Yes.
support ethical businesses,
Mm.
advocate for those policy changes
Yeah.
and be willing to challenge how things are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It won't be easy,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth fighting for.
You've given us so much to think about.
Good.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this
I know.
complex and rapidly evolving industry.
It is.
But I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Knowing everything we know now about Q-commerce,
Yeah.
its benefits, its challenges,
Mm.
its potential impact on the world,
Right.
do you think it's sustainable in the long run?
That is the million-dollar question. And I honestly don't think there's an easy answer.
Okay.
I think the future of Q-commerce really depends on the choices we make.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, as consumers, as businesses, as policymakers.
Right.
If we just keep going down this path of like unchecked growth,
Yeah.
putting speed and convenience above everything else,
Okay.
then I think Q-commerce could become this force for division and inequality
Yeah.
and environmental damage.
Right.
But if we choose a different path,
Okay.
one that puts sustainability, equity, and human connection first,
Mm-hmm.
then I think Q-commerce could actually be a powerful force for good.
So it's not just about delivering things quickly.
No.
It's about delivering a better future.
Exactly. It's about using this technology to create a world we can all be proud of.
It's kind of inspiring to think we have the power to shape this whole Q-commerce thing,
Yeah.
but it's also a little bit daunting.
It is.
There are so many factors, tech
Yeah.
economics, consumer behavior ethics.
Yeah.
Where do we even start?
I think the most important thing is to just start asking the right questions.
Okay.
Instead of just thinking about how to make it faster and more efficient,
Yeah.
we need to ask how to make it more sustainable, more equitable, more humane.
So shift our focus from the what to the why.
Exactly.
And that why
Yeah.
needs to be rooted in a real understanding of how this tech could impact our communities, the environment, our future.
Absolutely.
We talked before about how Q-commerce could make inequality worse.
Right.
How do we ensure that everyone benefits from this tech?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Not just a select few.
One solution could be to implement policies that make these services accessible to everyone.
Okay.
Like maybe subsidies or discounts for lower income communities or investments in infrastructure so Q-commerce can reach those underserved areas.
So a Q-commerce safety net to
Exactly.
make sure no one gets left behind.
And we could also encourage platforms that focus specifically on those marginalized communities.
Okay.
Like platforms that bring fresh produce to food deserts
Right.
or provide access to affordable health care.
So using Q-commerce as a tool for social justice.
Exactly.
Not just profit.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about the gig economy,
Yeah.
making sure those workers are treated fairly and have those same protections as other employees.
We talked about things like minimum wage,
Yeah.
paid sick leave, healthcare access. Are there other things that could help those gig workers?
There's this interesting idea that's gaining traction called portable benefits.
Okay.
This would give gig workers access to things like health insurance and retirement plans
Okay.
that aren't tied to one specific employer.
So even if they work for multiple platforms,
Right.
they still have that safety net.
Exactly. It could create a more stable and sustainable future for those workers.
We also discussed the environmental impact.
Yeah.
Besides electric vehicles and those consolidated delivery hubs, are there other ways to reduce the carbon footprint?
One thing I find really exciting is autonomous delivery robots.
Robots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine robots delivering packages without any greenhouse gases.
Wow.
And they can even help reduce traffic in cities.
So a futuristic, eco-friendly Q-commerce army.
Right.
But are people ready for robots bringing their packages?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It seems a little impersonal.
It's definitely a change.
Yeah.
But I think people are getting more used to automation, especially if it helps the environment.
Okay.
And we could design those robots to be more engaging,
Okay.
maybe even a little charming.
I can picture those little robots zipping around greeting people.
Exactly.
That would be kind of fun.
And it's important to remember that technology isn't inherently good or bad.
Yeah.
It's all about how we use it.
It feels like a real turning point for Q-commerce.
It does.
We can either let it become all about consumerism and convenience and damage to the environment,
Right.
or we can use it to build something better, more just sustainable and connected.
I agree.
And the choice is up to all of us.
It is consumers, businesses, policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
We all decide what kind of future we want with this technology.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We're not just watching this happen.
Nope.
We're a part of it.
Exactly. And our choices matter.
This has been an amazing deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much.
We have.
The benefits, the challenges, The ethical questions, all
Hmm.
those potential solutions.
Yeah.
What a journey.
I hope it's given our listener a lot to think about,
Me too.
and I hope they'll think more critically about their own relationship with Q-commerce
Yeah.
and how they can use their choices as a consumer to build a better future.
So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
Q-commerce isn't just about delivering things faster.
Right.
It's about delivering a better future,
A future where convenience and ethics can exist together.
where tech helps people and not the other way around.
Exactly.
A future we can all be proud of.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep imagining all the possibilities.
And remember, the future is what we make it.